Hi, and welcome to White Sponge. So as you can see, we'll be creating a React Native mobile app from scratch, and especially if you're new to React Native, hopefully this crash course in this new year, 2022, will be good and helpful for you. So let's get started right away. So as you can see right now, we are on the React Native homepage. The slogan, learn once, write everywhere. Okay, so to get started on React Native, I'm going to assume that you have some sort of knowledge or experience regarding JavaScript and React. Okay, or at the very minimum, the basics of React JS. Alright, so what exactly is React Native? Okay, so you can check out the homepage, or if you follow what the homepage for React Native says, it does give some sort of explanation. Okay, but from my perspective, React Native leverages on the React library and some special components, especially on the front end, which will allow you to use JavaScript to create native apps, right? So those components will be compiled to native components. So regardless of whether you're publishing on Android or iOS, which is Apple, all right? Okay, so let's get started to create our first React Native mobile app. Okay, so right here, okay, I will put the link in either the description box below or in the top pinned comment, right? So make sure you follow the instructions listed down here, right, to set up your development environment, right? Okay, we'll be using the React Native CLI instead of Expo. Alright. Okay, and make sure you download and install Android Studio. Okay, so for Android Studio, okay, make sure you set up and install the Android SDK. Alright, so once your Android Studio has been installed, go to Preferences. Alright, under Preferences, okay, go to Appearance and Behavior, System Settings, and Android SDK. Alright, so make sure you install the latest SDK and not just the latest, because some users might have devices on older Android OS versions. So make sure you install maybe the 4 or 5 latest versions. Yeah. Okay, and do take note of where you installed your Android SDK. Yeah. Copy and paste this link if you need to, right? You might need to use it later on. Alright, so also make sure that you download and install Xcode, as you will need it to publish your app on the Apple App Store. Alright, so let's jump over to our terminal to create our first project. Alright, so usually I would recommend you to not go for the latest version. Okay, so by default, if you do React Native Native init and your project name or mobile app name. So for today, we'll be just making or creating a very simple to-do app. So we'll call this to-do app, right? So usually if you do this, React Native by default will use the latest React Native version, which is right now 0.66.1, I believe. All right. Okay, but I would recommend you to not use the latest version, but use the latest stable version, right? That has the least amount of bugs and conflicts, especially with the various packages and dependencies that you need. So that will depend on what kind of features you want for your mobile app. All right. So for that, for us, okay, I found that 0.65.1 is the version I found to be stable, okay, as of this recording or this video. Yeah. So with the dash version parameter, you can specify which version of React Native you want to use for this app that you are about to create. Right? So let's go. So this will take a while and we'll be back once the project is created. Alright, and as you can see, we are back and the app has been created. Alright, so before we even start to run the app, okay, we have to go into the newly created directory. So there will be cd to do app. Alright, so now, okay, depending on your IDE or code editor, okay, we are using Visual Studio Code here. So I'll be using Visual Studio Code to open the entire project directory. Alright. So as you can see on the left, so these are the files generated, okay, by React Native. And if we take a look at the package file, you will see that our app is using React Native 0.65.1. All right. Okay, so you might want to do this maybe on your Android or iOS device, but we'll be doing this on the iOS simulator. All right. Okay, but before we even start to do that, okay, there are a few more steps that we have to pre-configure, which are quite important. So let's get right to it. Okay, first up, go to your port file, right? So for iOS, you need your port file. You need to configure it, right? So that will be port file, all right? So in your port file, okay, make sure to turn this on, right? So Herms enabled, this is false by default. Change it to true. Okay, so that's for iOS. And for Android, that will be in build.gradle file. Okay, located in the app folder of the Android folder. Alright. Scroll down and let's do the same thing here as well. Okay, enable Herms. We'll change it to true as well. So you might be wondering, what is this Herms that we are talking about, right? So we will not dive too much into it because that might make this not really a crash course. Okay, but just note that this will enable your app to run faster. right? So this is for both Android and iOS. Yeah. Okay, but do take note that there might be some packages or dependencies that, of course, once again, depending on what features you want for your app, might not support Herms yet. Yeah, so you will have to test that out. All right. Yeah, so I would recommend you to do this before you even run your app for the first time. All right. Okay, let's close that. Okay, so if we go to our app file now, okay, app.js. So this is the starting point for your app. All right. Okay, there's a lot of code here which we will not be needing. Okay, we'll remove them. Okay, once we start the app. All right. Okay, so let's get started. Okay, let's go back to our terminal here. All right. Okay, for iOS, okay, make sure you do a cd iOS because we are going into the iOS directory. So if you take a look at Visual Studio Code now, if you take a look at the left side here, okay, we have both the Android folder and the iOS folder. So these are your various native projects or apps, all right? Okay, which is where we are at. Okay, so we need to do a port install, all right, so that React Native will install the various dependencies required for the app to run on iOS, right? And that includes Herms as well. Okay, so do port install. Okay, so once again, this might take a while and we'll be back after this is completed. Yeah. All right, and we are back. So you should see this once the install is done. Okay, for the port file. And let's go back to the main directory and we'll do react-native run iOS. Okay, to start the simulator. So once again, this will take a while and we'll be back once the app has loaded. Alright, and welcome back. So as you can see, okay, once your app is up and running, this is what you'll see on the right. We have the iPhone 13 simulator and you see this engine Herms 0.8.1, right? So this means that Herms is on, okay, which is what we configured just now before running the app for the first time, right? So this is what you'll see, okay, for your first time running your first React Native mobile app. All right. Okay, let's go back to let's open up our Visual Studio Code. Okay, and we have the simulator on the right and the code on the left. Okay, so let's go to our starting point, app.js. Okay, so we have a lot of generated code here, which we'll not be using. So what we'll do is we'll remove everything, okay, and start from scratch, all right? Okay, let's zoom in so that you see the code better. Okay, so first up, we need to import React, okay? So I have a code snippet to make things slightly faster, yeah? Okay, React. Okay, so React Native leverages on the React library as well. Okay, and we'll need to import a view, the view, and text from React Native. All right. So think of view as the container, or if you're coming from a web background, think of it as the equivalent of div. Okay, and text will be what you need to wrap around just text whenever you need to display text on the screen of your mobile app. All right. Okay, and we'll do this to create our starting point, which is app. All right. Okay, and we will return a view and maybe a text as well. And we'll say hello world. Okay, and we'll need to export our app as well. So export default app. Okay, and once we save this, okay, pay attention to the right. Okay, you see hello world on the right, and everything else is gone. Right, so that is one of the benefits of using React Native, and you see how fast the reloading is, right? So this is one of the main highlights of React Native as well. All right. Okay, but enough about that. Okay, let's start building our first simple React Native to-do app. Yeah. Okay, so for that, we're going to remove this. Okay, this hello world. Okay, and it's gone, right? You see that the hello world is gone. Okay. Okay, if you take a look at the left here, we have a lot of files. So what I usually like to do is to create a new folder called app, right? Okay, and this is where we'll put most of our, or rather our screens and components, right? Components. Okay, new folder again. Components and screens. Okay, so screens are what they are. Yeah, I mean, screens are what you see on your mobile app. You could have a welcome screen, login screen, a sign up screen. All right. And for components, you can think of them as each and every of the tiny little things or UI that you see on a screen. Okay, and many of them can be put together to create a screen. So you could think of the screen as the container for components, right? Okay. So usually I will not put much in app.js. Usually it will be just navigation or even a provider if you are using maybe something like Redux or the context API. Okay, but for this crash course, we will not go into that because that might be a whole new video. Yeah. Okay, so first thing first, okay, let's go to the screens folder. Okay, we'll create a new file here. And let's call it home screen. Alright, so same thing here, we will need to import. Okay, let's copy and paste so that we save time. Okay, and this is home screen. Okay, we just need to change this to home screen. And home screen, alright. Let's go back to app.js. So over here, what we'll do is this. Okay, notice how Visual Studio Code, right, imports the home screen, okay, automatically. Yeah. And let's go back to home screen again. Okay, so if this works, okay, we should see hello world again. All right, you see at the top we have hello world. All right. Okay, but you might notice that it looks weirdly, it looks weird, yeah. It's in the top left corner. So this is where styles come in, all right? Okay, so to make your app nice, display beautifully, okay, we need to import style sheet from React Native. All right. And at the bottom, okay, before the export default home screen, we'll do constant styles equals to stylesheet dot create. All right, and in this chunk, this is where you can define your various styles for the current screen. For example, we can do text. Okay, I can say color, rate. Okay, and let's go back to the hello world here. If we say style equals to styles.text. Okay, and pay attention to the right. Once I save this, okay, notice that the hello world is now in red. All right. So this is a good way of separating your components or your views and your text and whatnot from the styles. Yeah, I mean there are even better ways, but for this crash course, we'll stick to this. All right. Okay, now let's move on to how we lay things out in React Native. All right, let's remove this first. And this. All right, so similar to React, okay, or even CSS, okay. Okay, React Native uses Flexbox, all right? So let's do style equals to styles dot, let's do parent container, all right? Save. Okay, we'll say flex1. Okay, we'll create a few more views in this parent container. All right. Okay, let's say container1, container2, and container3. Okay, so by default, the flex direction is column, I believe. Yeah. So that means things are placed vertically, right? So for example, if I do container1, okay, background color to be red, and I do max width 100%, height 50%, okay, let's copy and paste for container 2 and 3. Okay, but for container 2, we'll do a blue background. And for container 3, we'll do a green background. Okay, but for their height, for container 2, we'll do 20%. Container 3 will do 30%. So once I save this, Okay, you see that we have the 3 different colors appear, right? So why is this happening, right? So this is because these 3 different colors each represent a different view, which we define here. Okay, container 1, red, container 2, blue, and container 3, green. All right. Okay, so as you can see, container 1 occupies a height of 50%. So that is half of the screen. Container 2 is 20%. Okay. Container 3 is 30%. So of course we can change it. If we want container 1, the red container to be just 30%. And container 3, the green portion to be half of the screen. We'll do this 50%. And see, there we go. All right. Okay, so hopefully that helps explain the basics of Flexbox in React Native. All right. Okay, so obviously we will not have any background color for what we are about to create. So let's remove them. Okay, and for container 1, we'll change it to header. All right. And in container 1, we'll have, as you can see, header. So let's display the header of our to-do app. So we'll say new text. Okay, we have a header text, and we'll just say to-do items. Okay, you can see that the to-do items is all the way at the top here. We want to change that, yeah. Okay, so let's style it. Okay, we have our header text here. Okay, so sometimes it helps to see where your containers or views are at. Yeah. Okay, so that should be background color. Okay. So right now we are just using this as a gauge to see where your header is at. Alright. So we'll just do say around 12. Okay, so that's 12%. Sorry, that's 2%. Alright, we'll do 15. Okay, so usually for a header, you might have a button here at the top corner for either a side menu or a back button. Okay. Okay, but for the purpose of this or today's mobile app, we will not have that. Okay. Okay, we'll just have the header text. So let's change and style the header text. Okay, we'll change to white. We'll increase the font size. Okay, actually, let's keep it black. Yeah. All right, we'll align the text as well. Okay, or at the very minimum, make it not start from the edge on the left. Okay, padding left. All right. Okay, and we'll want the header text to be close to the end of the header view. All right. Alright, so that should be around 20%. Okay. And let's try to put more spacing at the left as well to make it look nicer. Okay, let's remove the red background. Alright, so we also increase the font weight of the header text to make it look bold. Okay, that's too much. Let's decrease the boldness. Alright, maybe around 600. And we will increase the font size as well. Alright, so there we have our header text. Okay, moving on. Okay, so for our to-do app, we'll want to display the list of to-dos, right? So for that, we'll need to use a FlatList, right? So let's import that at the top. Save. Okay, so before we can even start, okay, to display the list of to-do items, all right? Okay, we'll need to import useState, okay, which is a hook from React. Okay, so what this does is it will allow us to use the state manager, okay, in a functional component, which is what we have been doing. All right. Okay, save. So, okay, I have already created a code snippet to speed things up. Okay, but usually if you want to use the useState hook, you do this. Constant. Okay. Okay, the, for example, items. Okay, and the set method. So we'll call it set items equals to useState, and the initial starting state for this will be an empty array. All right. Okay, usually, correct. Usually that would be the case. All right. Okay, but for our mobile app, okay, because we want to see the list of items appear first, okay, let's initiate it with some dummy data. All right, so we'll have each to-do item, or to-dos, let's say buy milk. Okay. Okay, so we have each to-do item have an ID and just text, right? To keep things simple. So let's copy that. Okay. Okay, so to keep things simple, we'll just use 1 to 5 for the ID, but usually you might want to consider using an ID generator such as React Native UUID, alright? Okay, but for this simple mobile app, we'll just keep things simple, alright? So buy meal, let's say buy bread. Finish homework. Iron clothes. Work out once per week. Alright. We'll save that. Okay, so now we want to display that. Alright. So to display that, we'll need to call our FlatList. Alright. So we'll call it in the second container where we'll change the name to body container. Okay, let's do the same thing at the bottom here. All right, and we'll put our flat list here in the body container. Okay, so flat list. Okay, so the two most important attributes or props you have to pass in here is data. Okay, we'll pass in data first. So this is the array list that you want to display. So pass it into data. So for us, that will be items. All right. And okay, we also need a render item method. Okay. So this is where you can customize, right? How you want each item on your array, or in our case, the to-do list to appear. All right. Okay, so for us, let's pass. Okay, so item. Okay, we'll say to do item. Okay, and item equals to item. All right, so obviously to do item is not created yet. Okay, so before we save this, okay, let's create that component. All right, if not, okay, the app will give us, or React Native will give us an error. All right. So go to our components folder again. Let's create a new component. Let's call it to do item .js. Okay, and let's create our to do item. Okay, let's copy and paste the import statements here. Okay, and we'll just put an empty view here for now. Okay, once again, export default to do item. Okay, and now let's save our home screen. Okay, we need to import to do item as well. Okay, it's under components and to do item. All right, there we go. All right, so you might notice that we are not getting anything. All right. Okay, nothing is displaying, and that is because in our to-do item, we are not displaying it yet. All right. So let's go to our to-do item. Okay, so over here, this is where you can pass in your props. Okay, you can just do props usually. Okay, but because we want to know what we are getting here, okay, we'll expose the props, right? So we can do something along the lines of here to expose what we get. Okay, we just need to type in exactly what is passing here. That will be item here, all right? So we just do item, okay? And let's display it. Okay, so once again, to display text, you need to wrap it around in text. And we'll do item dot text. Okay, and there you go. So if you notice on the right, okay, you see that, okay, our 5 to-do items have appeared, okay, on the flat list, right? Okay, because we displayed it here. Okay, but of course it looks plain, so we are going to style it now. Alright. So first thing first, before we start to style it, alright. Okay, we'll need to give the container a style as well, a style name. Let's call it item container. Styles.item container, yeah. Alright, so for example, if I say height 50 and we do background color red, this is what might happen. Alright. Okay, you see that okay, each item or to-do item will have a red background, which is what we do not want. Okay, but just to visualize, to help visualize, we'll have the red background for now. Okay. Okay, we'll do a padding left as well to make it align with the header text as well. Okay, we'll have some spacing between each and every to-do item as well. Maybe 20. Alright. Okay, you might notice that it's okay, we entered 5 items, but only 3 are appearing. So the reason for that is because the body container is very small. Okay, it's only 20%. So let's increase it. Okay, and there you go. Okay, so we have our list of to-do items here. Okay, but of course, let's make it look a bit nicer. Okay, we can give it a underline, right, for each item. Okay, using border, right? Okay, border bottom width 1. Alright. Okay, but you might notice that the border looks weird. So we are going to make it such that the border is just very, very translucent. Okay, so border bottom color RGBA. So that stands for the usual color with opacity. All right. Okay. Okay, let's change that to black. Okay, you see that now it's slightly translucent. Okay, if we change it to 0.2, it's even more transparent. Okay, now that is better. Okay, let's reduce the width of the border at the bottom as well. Okay, so now it is very subtle, alright? Alright. Okay, so you might notice that the first item is very close to our header text. So we want to give it more spacing, right? So it looks nicer. Okay, so let's go back to home screen. Okay, go to our body container. Let's do padding top. Let's do 20. Okay, so now there's more spacing at the top. Alright, so it looks nicer. Okay. Okay, so now, so before we actually move on to adding the feature to remove or delete your items from the to-do list, you will notice that, okay, right now the to-do items are not exactly aligned properly, right? Especially the text. So let's fix that. Okay, let's go back to to-do item. Alright, let's add a padding to the top of the text. Okay, padding top, let's say 10. Alright. So you can see now the text is aligned properly, okay, in the center. Okay, and maybe a little bit more padding to the left. Alright, for nicer left alignment with the header text. Alright, let's go back to our home screen. Okay, so now before actually adding the feature to remove or delete your item, okay, so remember previously or just now we briefly mentioned about generating unique or different IDs for your items, right? So for that, we will need to install UUID. So if we just do a quick search for it, okay, yeah, so this is the package page for it. Okay, let's go to the GitHub page. Right. So we just need to use this to install React-Native-UUID. Right, let's clear that. Install it. Alright, and let's go to the iOS directory and do a simple port install. Alright, this might take a while, so we'll be back once it's done. Alright, we're back now that it's installed. Let's go back and run the app again. And we're back with the app running again. Alright. So now let's make use of the UUID library that we just installed. Alright. So to do so, okay, we need to import it. Alright. So let's go to the top here. Let's do import. Okay, UUID from React-Native-UUID. Save. Right, so no error. That means the import is successful. Alright. Okay, and we'll change this all to UUID.version4. Right. Copy and paste. Okay, and we'll do the same thing for the rest. Alright. Okay, so no errors there. Okay, which is good. Okay, now we'll actually move on to adding the feature for you to remove items from your to-do list. Okay, so first up, we need to create the method for that. Alright, so we'll do that here on home screen. Okay, once again, we'll use our shortcut code snippet, RNF, constant remove item. Right. So what we'll do here, okay, we'll say set items. Okay, so this essentially calls the method here, okay, the hook, the setter, to update your items, right? So what we want to do here is to pass in or get the previous items or the current existing list of items. So we'll say, let's call it all items, alright? Okay, curly bracket, open it up. Okay, and we'll return the all items, but we'll remove the item. Okay, using the filter method. Okay, we'll remove the item that does have the ID that we pass it in. So basically what this filter here does is to check if the ID is not the same, then we'll add it in together when we return this list. All right. So obviously we need to pass in the ID here. All right. So that's for remove item. Save that. Okay. So we need to have a button for each item. Okay. On each row here, as you can see on the right on our React Native app. Okay. That will call this remove item method. All right. So for now, we'll just pass the remove item in. Okay, over here to do item equals to item, we'll pass it in. So we'll call it remove item equals to remove item. All right, we'll save that. And let's go back to do item. All right, and once again, we need to expose it from the props. So remove item here. Okay, so right now you might notice that there's nothing in each and every to-do item that will allow us to capture or have a button that you can tap on. Okay, which is why we are going to import touchable opacity. All right. So you can think of it as a component provided by React Native for you to create and design buttons that by default have a opacity animation when tapped upon. All right. Save that. Okay. So we just want one small button on all the way at the end here. All right. So to achieve that, okay, let's add the button here first. Okay. Okay, and we'll just do an X. Okay, to keep it simple. Okay, but my recommendation is for your mobile apps, okay, use an icon. It will look nicer. All right. Okay. Okay, yeah. So notice the error here. So this means that you cannot just put a text between your touchable opacity. You need a text. All right, so X here. There you go. Okay, so you might notice something weird on the right here. Okay, you see that the button is below the buy milk. All right, that is because by default, the flex direction is column in React Native. Okay, which is why for item container, okay, so when it's column, things appear one after another or below each other, right? So we need to change it to flex direction low, right? So that will make it such that items will be placed one after another on its right, right? Okay, X. Oh, sorry. This should be row. Okay, and there you go. The X is right next to the item's text. Okay, so we need to fix that alignment as well because right now it's kind of not aligned and spaced out properly. Yeah, spacing is very important in mobile app design. So to fix that, okay, we're going to do styles. Our style equals to styles dot close or remove button. Okay, same for the text. Okay, style equals to styles dot text. Okay, we just call it text. All right, so over here we'll do text, and we'll do remove button. All right, remove button. Okay, so in order to ensure that the remove button is all the way on the right, we can do, there are a few ways of going about doing it. Okay, for example, you can do position absolute. Okay, and you can do right 0. Yeah, so it's all the way on the right. You can see that. All right. Okay, but we'll do say 30. And we'll do padding top as well. Okay, so that it is aligned with buy milk. Okay, and we'll make it such that it looks great. Okay, so over here for this text, we'll add a style as well. We'll say styles.close text. All right. Okay, so for the main to-do text here, we'll just maybe increase the font weight or decrease it. Okay, so maybe 300. All right, 300 looks good. Okay, and we'll do close text here as well. And we'll make it red. Okay, it's a string. All right. Okay, so that's what the close or remove button looks like now. Okay, but do remember and always remember that for buttons on your mobile app, ensure that it is big enough. Okay. Okay. I mean, the ideal scenario is for it to be big enough. Okay, as big as your thumb, or even your, or maybe at the very minimum, your index finger, but not too big. Yeah. So we'll increase the size of the text or the button maybe. Alright, so for close text, the font size, let's try 16. Or even 20, yeah? Okay, so now if we tap on the X here, okay, notice that there's a slight or simple opacity animation here provided by default by touchable opacity. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Now we just need to pass in the on press. Okay, using the remove item props here. Okay. So let me just do this. Okay, touchable opacity. So we need to define the on press here. So this will be called. Okay, we just call remove item here. Save. All right, and of course we need to pass in the ID. Okay, the item's ID. All right. So save. Okay, so if we, okay, let's try to reload the app. All right, to do so, you can go to your terminal. All right, that has your Metro launch packager. All right, press R and that should reload your app. So that's another way to reload your app as well. All right, let's minimize that. Okay, so now let's test out the remove item feature. Okay, so now if we tap on, say, buy milk, it should disappear. There we go. Okay, say if we tap on iron clothes, okay, it should disappear and workout once per week should move up, right? Let's try that. Okay, there we go. Same thing. Finish homework. All right. Okay, so that's the remove or delete item feature. Let's go back to home screen. All right. Now we need to add the feature for you to add new items to your to-do list, right? So let's get to it. Okay, so same thing here. We need to start with creating the method for it. All right. So same thing, RNF, my shortcut. Okay, constant add item. All right. So over here, we'll call set items once again. Okay, once again, we'll say all items. All right, and we'll return an array. Okay, that consists of our current items, which is all items. Okay, but okay, we'll add in a new item. All right. So a new item will consist of curly bracket id UUID.v4. Okay, what we did just now for the initial starting items. And then we'll do text. Okay, which is the name of the to-do or the main content. Of course, we need to pass in text as well. Right? This is actually 3 dots and space that. Okay, so what this 3 dots? So this is a shortcut operator for you to tell React Native, hey, I want to add whatever is here in front to what I already have. All right. So this will be the add item method. All right. Okay, next we need a text input for you to type the item. Okay, before we can even add the button for you to add the item. All right. So for that, we'll need to import text input. Let's do that here at the top. Same thing. Text input. All right. Okay, so we'll put the text input at the bottom. Okay, all the way at the bottom. So for that, we'll scroll and move to the final container. All right. So this will be footer container. Let's change it to that. Same thing here. And in this footer container, we'll have a text input. All right. All right. So with our text input, we can do things like giving it a placeholder. All right. Okay. So this is the text that will appear before you even type anything, similar to what you have on the web. Yeah. Okay. So now you see it's at the bottom. Okay, over here, it's not that obvious, but you see it here, add item, all right? Okay, so same thing here, we need to align it to the rest of the UI, all right? So for that, we'll need to style it as well. Okay, we'll just straight away style the footer container as well. So padding left, let's say 33. All right. Okay, so for text input, okay, so to give you a better visual of what it looks like, okay, let's do style equals to styles.text input. All right. Okay, and let's define the style here. Text input. Let's say border color. Let's say red. And border width, let's say 1. Okay, so that's what it looks like. Okay, just to give you an idea of where the text input is at. All right. Okay, and of course, we'll make sure that the width does not go over. Let's do 80%. Okay, maybe 88. Yeah. All right, that should do. Okay, let's do a padding as well. All right. Okay, but we want to make it such that the border is not that obvious. All right. So once again, we'll do RGBA. Okay, a lot of red. Okay, maybe 0.2 in terms of opacity. Okay, so you can type stuff here. Okay, but okay, we need to keep track of what it's typed here as well. All right. So to achieve that, okay, we need to use state again. So over here, so previously we typed all this out, which wasn't very efficient. So now I'm going to use off my code snippet use state. All right, so this will be entered text and set entered text. Use state default will be an empty string. All right. Okay, so for that entered text, okay, we'll set it as the value for the text input. Okay, value equals to entered text. Save. All right, so now if you try to type anything here, okay, notice that the cursor is blinking, but nothing is appearing and it constantly deletes itself. All right, so this might seem like a bug, but it's not. And the reason for this behavior is because, okay, we have not defined the on change text props here. All right, so okay, we just need to get the text and we'll do set enter text, and this will be text. All right, so that will allow the app to constantly keep track of the entered text and display it here. Okay, and you see that the bug is gone. All right. Okay, and now we can, or rather we are also keeping track of the entered text as well, which we'll need now, okay, because we are about to add the button for you to add the to-do item. All right, so let's jump right to that. Okay, so once again, we need a touchable opacity here. Okay, let's do here. Touchable opacity, save, same thing. Okay, and we do it below the text input. All right, so touchable opacity. Okay, we'll need a text as well. Okay, let's say add item. Okay, you can see that on the right here, it appears below the text input. All right, which is what we want. Okay, and of course, we need to style the button. So style equals to styles dot add button. Okay, same thing for the text. We need to style it as well. Style equals to styles dot add button text. Okay, and let's define those two styles. Add button. Okay, and add button text. Alright, so for add button, we'll give it a background color. Let's say RGB, same thing. Okay, but without the A, we do not need opacity for this. Say around, okay, I'm just going to put some random numbers here and we'll see what it looks like. Okay, it looks green. Okay, maybe lesser green. All right. Okay, let's try orange instead. Yeah, orange. Okay, that's better. We'll give it some padding as well, so to give the text on the button some breathing space. There we go. And let's make sure that the width does not exceed the screen. All right, make sure it's case sensitive here. Okay, and for the text as well, we need to make it white. Okay, maybe increase the font weight. And we need to align the text. There we go. Okay, maybe 600. Okay, and last but not least, maybe some spacing between the text input and the button. There we go. Alright, so right now this button here, this add button, if we tap on it, okay, I mean we still get obviously the same opacity animation, but it does not do anything at all. Okay, so what we need to do here is, let's scroll up. Okay, go to our button here. Alright, let's, same thing here. Okay, we need to define our on press prop. Okay, so what we'll do here is same thing, on press, okay, arrow, and at item, we need to pass in the entered text. Alright, save. Okay, so now if we enter anything here, let's say buy dinner. Alright, buy dinner. Okay, now if I tap on add item, okay, notice that buy dinner appears at the top. Alright, let's try that again. We can say buy breakfast and lunch. Okay, add item, same thing. Alright, and of course we can remove buy dinner as well. We can remove buy breakfast and lunch, same thing. Alright, so lastly, before we wrap things up, okay, I would just like to show you the image component, and maybe to add to make this slightly nicer, because right now it's too plain. Okay, so the image component is used obviously to display images. Okay, so same thing here, we'll import it from React Native from the top. All right, image from React Native here. Okay, save. Okay, and we'll display an image on the left of this header text. All right, in the form of a circle. All right. So before we define and actually add the image over here, okay, we'll need to get an image from the web. Okay, so we'll get a random image. Okay, images. Or rather the image address which will look like this. Alright. Okay, let's go back to React Native. Okay, and let's scroll down to our header portion here. Okay, and we'll put our image here. Okay, first thing first. Okay, let's define the styles for it. Alright, we'll use that as the name for the style. Okay, so for image, it also takes in a prop called source. Okay, and you need to pass in an URI of the image. So this can be a direct web link to the image or a local image as well. Okay, so if we save this You might not see the image yet because we have not defined this image style yet. So let's do that. All right, we'll just place it at the top here. So for example, if we say width 60 and height 60. Okay, now you see the image has appeared at the header area. Okay, but it pushed the header down. And that's because this view here, it is still on the column flex direction. So we need to change that to make it row so that the to-do items text will appear on the right of the image. All right. So over here, header, let's change the flex direction to row. There we go. All right. So you see now it appears on the right, but it looks weird because we need to change some of the styling that we did at the start of the video. All right. So let's remove the margin top. Okay, and let's apply it to whatever is in the header view. Save that. Okay, you see that everything is pushed down, it's fine. Okay, let's adjust that. All right. Okay, so for the image here, notice that it looks squarish. So to fix that, we're going to make it a circle. Okay, so for that, we'll need to use border radius. So to change an image from what you see here to a circle, use border radius and make sure that it is half of the width and height. There you go. Okay, so now it looks like a circle, border radius. And we need some spacing between the header text and the image as well, yeah? So let's do padding left. Okay, maybe 15, yeah? And we'll do padding top as well. Okay, now it looks better, yeah? Alright, so now you might notice that there's too much spacing here. So we're going to reduce the height of the header by say 2%. Okay, and there you have it. Okay, a nicer looking and simple to-do app. Alright, so okay, we have displayed a list of to-do items. Okay, we have added a functionality or feature for you to remove them and also to add them as well. Okay, and in a nicely placed and spaced out design for this simple to-do app. Okay, so hopefully this crash course for React Native was helpful and entertaining at the same time. And if you think so as well, do remember to give this video a thumbs up, share it with your friends, subscribe and ring that notification bell. And as always, stay awesome and stay safe. And do look forward to our next and upcoming videos. Cheers, man.